You know that feeling, right? When you feel completely weighed down by something that happened yesterday, maybe a mistake or a loss or just a regret that you can't seem to shake? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful story about exactly that, the heavy weight of the past and the incredible freedom you find when you finally embrace the present.
And this question, wow, it's so simple, but it's really at the very heart of the entire story. It comes from a child, but honestly, it holds a lesson for every single one of us. So let's find out who this uncle is and what heavy burden he's been carrying.
All right, so our story starts in this peaceful little village right by a river. And here we meet a man whose whole life is tied to the water and to a burden that he's carrying deep down in his heart.
So, this is Sammy. And in his village, Sammy was the guy. He was this incredibly skilled and dependable boatman, the one person everyone trusted to get them safely across the river. Didn't matter if the water was calm or if a storm was raging. He was a master of his craft, a man who knew that river inside and out. But here's the thing. While his hands were so steady on the oars, his heart was completely adrift. He was carrying a weight that nobody could see, this huge burden of memory and regret.
And this is where we get to the root of his pain. Years ago, on that very same river, a terrible accident took his younger brother's life. And ever since that day, Sammy had been trapped, blaming himself, just replaying every single moment over and over. The energetic, smiling man the villagers all knew, he just slowly faded away, replaced by a shadow of who he used to be.
And so he just kept going, day in and day out, stuck in this fog of grief. Until one day, a simple, innocent question from a child cut right through it all. And this is the turning point.
A little girl named Amina, with these big, curious eyes, just walked up and asked him. Plain and simple. You know, sometimes it's the simplest questions that hit the hardest, isn't it? She saw what everyone else had noticed but was too afraid to ask.
And those words, they just struck him deeply. It wasn't an accusation, it wasn't a judgment, it was just a pure, honest question that forced him to look in the mirror and confront the sadness that had pretty much become his entire identity.
So, with that question ringing in his ears, Sammy went looking for answers. But he wouldn't find them inside his own head. He'd find them in the one place he knew best, the river.
He just sat there, and he watched the water do what it has always done, just flow. It moved on, endlessly, constantly pushing forward toward the sea, never ever stopping, and never looking back.
And right then, in that moment, it just clicked. He realized he'd been trying to carry these heavy stones, the stones of his past, in his boat, and they were just weighing him down. But the river? The river never holds on to anything. It just keeps flowing. And he saw he had a choice. He could be the boat, heavy with stones, or he could be like the river, always moving forward.
Now this realization was huge, but it led to a conscious, powerful choice. And you know, it's one thing to understand a lesson, but it's a whole other thing to actually act on it.
He made a decision, and it was based on this really key difference. He wouldn't try to erase his brother or forget what happened. No, he would remember the past, but he would no longer carry it. He decided he would honor his brother's memory by actually living, not by drowning in guilt. And with that one decision, it's like a whole new perspective dawned on him. The past was behind him, the future was still to come. But today was right here, a gift just waiting for him.
And the very next morning, you could actually see the change. He took a deep breath, stepped into his boat, and he smiled, really smiled, at the rising sun. For the first time in years, that heavy weight in his heart was just gone. He felt light. He felt free.
So, what a story, right? But what does Sammy's journey really mean for us? Let's break down the big lessons we can pull from this and use in our own lives.
At the end of the day, Sammy's story reminds us of something really important. Our pasts, they teach us, they shape us for sure, but they do not have to define us. We're meant to flow forward, just like that river, because life is just way too precious to be controlled by things we can no longer change.
And that brings us to this key idea of honoring memory. It's not about trying to forget, it's about turning that grief into something positive. Sammy chose to honor his brother by living a full life, not by staying in the shadows.
He made the choice to stop being weighed down. You know that feeling, right? That emotional gravity that just holds you in place. It's exactly like those heavy stones in the boat we were just talking about.
And when that heavy feeling becomes your normal, everyday state, you risk being held hostage by yesterday. You're trapped by a past you can't change, and you become completely blind to the present moment that you can.
So as we wrap up this story, the real question is for you. We all carry stones in our boats, mistakes, sorrows, regrets. What's one stone